Hi Rosie, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
We're coming to the end of the diploma course, the 1 year full-time acting diploma that has been the third and final year of your 3-year journey with us. Tell me a bit about this last 9 months, because there's been a kind of cavalcade and kaleidoscope of experiences, performances, classes, and then ultimately the aspiration to then go on to what you're going to do next. So where did it all start in September for you?
So obviously it's a lot different from the BTEC. There's a lot more pressure. We do more shows, so we do 2 a term. Starting in September was really different, coming back to a different group and working out the dynamics with everyone.
So the first up was East,
Yeah.
Stephen Burkhoff, highly physical.
Yeah, definitely.
Lots of kind of the kind of energy required to do that kind of art. And you played
Sylv.
Okay, you smile. Why? Because you enjoyed playing Sylv.
Yeah, I did.
Feisty.
Yeah.
No holds barred. Doesn't take any prisoners. I guess one of the things perhaps this year that you've had to kind of maybe step up to is the roles have increased in terms of their presence, what's expected of you, the kind of things you've had to do. I think you've had to kiss almost in every show you've played, and whilst that might have been perhaps an obstacle in terms of eventually getting to that, in this, that hasn't even been an issue at any point. So how is that just about growing up and realising that stories have that sort of stuff you've got to deal with?
Yeah, I think so. Because I did start when I was 17, now I'm leaving nearly 20.
Right, okay.
So I think definitely I've grown over the 3 years, but
Yeah.
even more so for the 9 months since September.
Yeah.
Even more so then.
In this last 9
Yeah.
months. So in Cabaret, you had to play an old. So you went from playing the sort of sassy, interesting East to playing an older German lady in Cabaret.
Yeah, I really enjoy playing Fräulein Schneider.
Fräulein Schneider. So
Yeah.
what did you have to do in that? You know, what was involved in Cabaret? Because Cabaret is a complex show, very well known, fantastic music. So you had to sing and dance and act in multiples of many.
So
both on your own and in an
yeah.
ensemble.
We had Rhea coming in for the singing, we had Abby and Colin choreograph the dances, and we also, outside of the main rehearsal, had separate classes with Colin to learn waltzes and different dances, but also just acting through song to not only sing them, but with Colin one-to-one, just learning how to move around the set and sing with character.
So you know that Cabaret is such a well-known piece.
Yeah.
Did you just put that to the back of your mind and go, do you know what, we're just going to do this, and rather than try to live up to the expectation?
Yeah, obviously there's research that you do, but I think you have to there's only a certain amount of research regarding looking at past performances that you can watch, because you just get stuck in the mindset of how someone else has played it, so you really have to just put that aside and create the character
I mean, it was
yourself.
very well received.
Yeah, definitely.
It was packed out in terms of audiences. So did it surprise you how popular it was from an audience point of view?
Yeah,
I mean,
massively.
it certainly did me. I mean, I couldn't believe that every performance was rammed to the hilts.
Oh yeah.
And the responses generally were good, weren't they?
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
I think everyone enjoyed it.
And that helps as well when you know that you're in a show that is popular and is well received. Not content with that, you had to do audition panels and other classes, and then the continuation of the stage combat, which at the time you may not have realised the significance of that, but as we sort of worked through the term and then the second term and into the third term, it then became apparent as to why the stage combat was going to play such a seismic part in not just your own development, but in the kind of graduation process as well.
Yeah, I think the stage combat has pretty much come into every play. There was a few hits in East, in Cabaret as well, definitely in Macbeth, and now with the Three Musketeers.
So as we moved into Macbeth, which was the spring term touring, you were cast as which one?
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about what was involved in that, because that was a hugely complex responsibility, playing the first witch, both in terms of the content, but also the architecture of the show and how you move through it, the multiples of scene changes, etc., etc.
It was quite difficult at first. There was a lot to remember, and working out how to work as a unit with the other witches, and being really physical. It was difficult, but I think as myself and also as a three, we grew quite a bit through the process.
Okay, so you had to use complex series of scene changes, interlocking scene changes.
Yeah.
Was I right in assuming that they were in this sort of modern setting? It was set in a kind of Syria type of civil war situation, and you were representative of suicide bombers, which can't be easy in a time when we've got some major troubles at the moment, to be able to play a totally unsympathetic character, because I don't think generally people would have a lot of time or sympathy for anybody of that ilk.
No.
And yet you had to find some sympathy within the character that is probably abhorred by most.
Yeah, I did a lot of research.
As an actor, you had to play something that most people hate,
Yeah.
and in theory should hate you for that.
Yeah.
And yet that's not an easy role to play.
No, definitely not.
Never mind all the complexities of scene changes. And you had to live with that for the best part of 5 months, really, 4 months, because there was the rehearsal process, then there was the performance process
And
in
then-
rep,
Yeah.
where there were shows
on
done.
tour as well.
Yeah, and then so it wasn't just getting it right for a week; it was actually living it. And if you were to say the thing that perhaps you learnt most about performing over a 6-week period, which is what every actor would really like to do with a show, what would you say that is about sustaining a role?
You just got to nurture the character, and you can still grow from first performance to last performance. You're always developing the character and finding out new things, new relationships that you didn't know or you wasn't much aware of. You can still grow throughout the whole process.
Would you say the character changed radically from the end to the beginning?
Yeah, at the beginning we started pretty much without an accent, more neutral. Then throughout the rehearsal process, started trying out an Arabic accent, which was quite difficult at first, but the more we became comfortable of it, then it just began to flow and work with the character.
And then ultimately, I think the running time of the show went from 1:59 and 1:51 down to 1:39, which is a seismic shift, isn't it? So it meant that the kind of the whole tectonic plates of the show just seemed to slot together.
Yeah.
So we moved to the last 3 weeks, and you've got seemingly everything and the kitchen sink being thrown at you.
Yeah.
With the directing project, the Gangster Number One, and who are you playing in Gangster Number One? Mel. A kind of return to East, really?
Yeah.
Is there a difference between Mel in Gangster Number One and Sylvan East?
Yeah, it's set. Gangster Number One is set in the 60s, so
Okay.
it's a different time period.
Okay.
She's a go-go dancer, and I think she's tougher than Sylv.
And doesn't it come right up to date?
Yeah.
Because so you see her age through the process,
Yeah,
whereas you
past,
never really see
present,
that. Yeah.
and future.
And then obviously into Musketeers. Tell me a bit about who you're playing in Musketeers.
I'm playing Constance Bonacieux, so
Okay.
she's D'Artagnan's love interest, but playing her a bit more sort of 21st century, so she's not as coy and the damsel. She can actually fight and does protect D'Artagnan.
Because I remember in the casting you were saying, I've done all the stage combat, am I never going to get to use it?
Yeah.
So we've got halfway. Have you been involved in any of the stage fights?
Yeah, about 3 fights,
So
I think.
more than you expected.
Oh, definitely playing Constance. I didn't think I'd be in any of the fights. I thought I'd be more protected and
she
escorted
doesn't need
off
protecting
stage.
from anybody,
No.
really. Okay. And that's very much about modern life, really.
Yeah.
I mean, just because it's Musketeers and it's set in the 17th century doesn't mean to say that we can't bring modernity to it. And that kind of makes it fresh, doesn't it, I think? And then finally, as we move onwards to graduation, you're heading off to do quite an unusual course. Tell us a bit about what you're going to study.
So it's at Derby, and it's Creative Expressive Therapy Arts in Drama.
That's a hell of a statement. So
Yeah.
in a nutshell, for a layman, what does that mean?
So it's drama for more therapeutic. So working in prisons or community theatre, and then I can go on to hopefully do a master's in drama therapy.
Okay.
Working privately or on the NHS
Right.
to teach drama to young children or again in prisons, therapeutically to help them.
And where does that
situations.
interest come from? I mean, has that always been there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I did work in a nursery before coming here, so I think it's grown from there. I've wanted to work with children, but also.
So do you see that now
act as
after
well.
3 years worth of training, that there is most definitely a place for theatre in healing people?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you find that it's helped you
Yeah,
to
I
come
think
to terms
so.
with life?
Yeah.
When I do, I find it's a tremendous comforter, actually. When all around you chaos ensues, within the world of theatre there seems to be a kind
Yeah.
of creative calm, even though it's mad. It feels it feels controllable
Yeah.
sometimes in life, that things are spiraling out of control and you can't do anything about it. Here,
You just leave it outside.
yeah,
and
but here
come
you
into
create the world
space.
in which
Yeah.
you want to be, and I think perhaps if you can make yourself be anybody that you want to be on stage, maybe that's, you know, a metaphor for life. You know, maybe you can take some of the lessons that if I can jump over a 5-bar gate and sword fight and
Yeah.
rescue the damsel all in 30 minutes, I can at least pay my gas bill and sort out the problems in life. So I think I'll be fascinated to see how that sort of develops over the.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean to say that you're turning your back on acting, though, is it?
No,
No.
definitely not.
So you see the two running in parallel, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Rosie, it's been a fascinating 3 years. It's going to be a fascinating next 3 weeks. And we wish you the very best of luck with all the things you've got coming in the order that they come. And then I'm sure you'll keep us abreast of what happens in Derby
Yeah.
and then beyond, and maybe you can come back and do some work here. Help the more needed ones.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Rosie. It's been a pleasure.